All right, in lesson 90, we're going to talk about what's called statements of equality. And we've actually been working with these quite a bit when we've had the coin problems and the value problems. And just to review that, let's take a look at the statement that I have here. It says that there are 6 more dimes than quarters. Now, if we were going to make an equation out of this, first of all, we'd have to designate how we want to set our variables. So the number of dimes, we could say maybe N, ND, and then the number of quarters we'll call NQ. And again, we're using subscripted variables here. Now, I'm going to make an untrue equation. So we know that the number of dimes is not equal to the number of quarters. And so that's untrue, because it says there's 6 more dimes than quarters. Now, the way we've described this is, think of this as a science balance. And it says that there's 6 more dimes, so maybe there's 6 more ounces on this side. So the right side of this balance is way lower than the other side. Now, how do we balance this out? Well, I'd have to add 6 over here. I'd have to add 6 ounces or whatever the weight is. So really, our equation here would be ND equals NQ plus 6. And really, this is what we're dealing with, except it's just different topics. So let's take a look at example 1. It says, together Charles and Nell picked 92 quarts of berries. So together, they picked a total of 92 quarts. Now it says, if Charles picked 6 more quarts than Nell, how many quarts did each of them pick? All right, so just like coin problems and just like value problems, I want to come up with 2 equations. And I'm going to let NC represent what Charles picked, and I'm going to let NN represent what Nell picked. Now, I know together they picked 92 quarts. So NC represents how many quarts Charles picked, and N represents how many quarts Nell picked. So NC plus NN adds up to 92. Now, the next one, I know that the number of quarts that Charles picked is not equal to the number of quarts that Nell picked, because it says Charles picked 6 more quarts. So again, this science balance example, Charles picked 6 more. So how do I balance it out? Well, I got to add 6 over here. I got to add 6 right here on this side of the balance. So my equation then is NC equals NN plus 6. All right. Now now I've got my 2 equations. Now this is set up to use substitution. I know NC is this, so I'm going to substitute that in right there. All right, so I've got NN, if it writes it, okay, NN plus 6 plus the NN right here equals 92. Now I'm going to solve it for NN. So NN plus another NN is 2 of those NNs plus the 6 equals 92. Now I'll solve it. They're adding 6, subtract 6. I get 2NN is equal to 86. And then divide by 2. So half of 86 then would be 43. So the number of quarts that Nell picked was 43 quarts. Now where's the easiest place I can figure out what Charles picked? Well, probably the easiest place is this one right here. Or I could even go back to this one right here and say, all right, what number plus 43, because that's what Nell picked, will give me 92. Well, I'm going to just go to this one right here. I'm just going to add 6 to Nell's, and that would be, let's see, 48. Or excuse me, 49. So the number of quarts that Charles picked then was 49. And let me just check that. And that should be right. Now, these should be easy to check, because if you add these together, you should get your total of 92 quarts. And look at it, did Charles pick 6 more quarts than Nell did? And that's correct. So it works out then. All right, let's take a look at one more example, example 2. The number of boys in Sarah's class exceeded the number of girls by 7. Well, I'm going to let N B represent the number of boys, and I'm going to let NG represent the number of girls. Now I know the number of girls is not equal to the number of boys in this class, right? So again, I'm going to use my science balance to represent this. So let's see, the number of boys in Sarah's class exceeded the number of girls by 7. So there's 7 more boys. Now, how do I balance this out? Well, I got to add 7 over here. So my equation then would be NB is equal to NG plus 7. Now that's one equation. Now my second equation, I know that there's how many students in the class? 29. So I know that the number of boys plus the number of girls equals 29. Now again, this is set up for substitution. I know that NB is this, so I substitute that in right there. So I have NG plus 7 plus NG equals the 29. And if I solve that, and I'm going to go up here to this part of the screen, I have 2NG plus 7 equals 29. Now if I solve it and subtract 7, so I have 2NG is equal to, let's see, 29 take away 7 is 22. So NG is equal to 11. So the number of girls then is equal to 11. So now where's the easiest place I can get the number of boys? Well, I'll just add 7 to that, and I get 18. So the number of boys is equal to 18. Now, do these add up to 29 students? They do. And is there 7 more boys than girls? There is. All right, so this topic then is called Statements of Equality.